In a time before time, when the 9 realms were still young, and the winds whispered ancient names through the branches of the world tree, there lived gods who walked among the stars and storms. This is the story of Thor, the god of thunder, whose footsteps shook the mountains and whose hammer, Mjolnir, was feared by all who threatened the peace of Asgard. But this tale is not just about power. It is about deception. It is about laughter. And it is about a wedding where nothing was quite as it seemed. So, take a breath. Let the noise of the day fall away, and allow yourself to drift into the mythic mists of the north, where even the thunder has a sense of humor. The sun had barely risen above the silver towers of Asgard when Thor awoke, stretching his mighty limbs. He reached instinctively for Mjolnir, as he always did, the hammer that never left his side, forged in the heart of a dying star. But this morning, there was nothing, just air. The space where the hammer should have been was cold and empty. Thor sat up, the red braid in his beard twitching with tension. "Loki," he muttered. Whenever something went wrong in Asgard, there was usually one suspect. The god of mischief was soon summoned, strolling in with a smirk on his face and a flick of his long, dark hair. "You bellowed," he said with mock innocence. "My hammer is gone," Thor growled. Loki blinked. "Gone? As in misplaced?" "Gone," Thor thundered. "As in stolen." That changed things. Even Loki, for all his trickery, knew what it meant for Mjolnir to vanish. Without it, Thor's power was halved. Worse, the gods were vulnerable. Jutnir, the frost giants, could attack the realms without fear. Loki sighed, the smirk fading. "All right, let me look into it." He borrowed Freya's falcon feather cloak, which shimmered like oil in the wind. With a graceful leap, he soared into the skies, his shape blurring into a streak of feathers and wind. Loki flew far beyond the shining halls of Asgard, over dark forests and frozen seas, until he reached the rocky, jagged land of Jotunheim, home of the giants. There, in a hall carved from mountain stone, sat Thrym, a massive frost giant, broad as a barn, with a beard like icicles and eyes that glowed pale blue. Thrym reclined on a throne of ice and cracked bones, and at his feet, buried deep in the ground, was something humming with power. "Ah," he said, not bothering to stand. "Loki, I wondered when you'd come." "You have Mjolnir," Loki said, skipping pleasantries. "I do," said Thrym, licking a greasy bone. "It sleeps beneath my hall. No god will reclaim it unless I get what I want." Loki narrowed his eyes. "Which is?" Thrym grinned, showing teeth like broken stones. "I want Freya, the goddess of beauty, as my bride." Loki returned with the news, landing with a gust in the golden courtyard of Asgard. The gods were called to council. Odin, Allfather, sat at the head. Beside him, Frigg, Tyr, Baldur, Heimdall, and of course Thor, now scowling with stormy fury. When Loki told them what Thrym demanded, the reaction was immediate. Freya's eyes blazed. "He wants me? That frost-breathed ox wants me for a bride?" She rose and slammed her necklace against the wall, the jewels sparking with divine fire. "Never! I will not marry a brute in a cave. I'd rather throw myself into the roots of Yggdrasil." Thor, fist clenched, grumbled, "So what do we do? March into Jotunheim unarmed?" The hall fell into silence. None dared speak. Mjolnir was not just a hammer. It was the last line of defense between order and chaos. Then Heimdall stepped forward. His eyes, which saw through time and space, gleamed with unusual mischief. "There is one way," he said. All eyes turned to him. "We dress Thor as Freya, a veil, a dress, jewels, a quiet bride delivered to her waiting giant groom." Loki coughed, trying not to laugh. Thor's jaw dropped. "You want me to wear a dress?" "It's the only way," Heimdall said solemnly. And so, the gods set about the task. They found a gown fit for Freya, flowing red silk that shimmered like flame. They braided Thor's golden beard with glittering ribbon. They placed around his thick neck Freya's famed necklace, Brisingamen. A veil was lowered over his fierce eyes, and gloves sewn to hide the calloused warrior's hands. Beside him, Loki donned a modest servant's dress, tied his hair and painted on a smile. "You make a radiant bride," he teased. "If you say another word, I will end you," Thor growled through gritted teeth. "Such passion," Loki grinned. "The groom will be thrilled." Thor and Loki rode in Thor's chariot, pulled by his two enchanted goats, Tengrisnir and Tengnoster, whose hooves cracked stone as they bounded through the clouds. The skies rumbled softly as they passed. Below them, mortals looked up in wonder, never knowing that the thunder they heard came not from anger, but from embarrassment. Thor stared at the clouds, hands clenched in silk. "How did it come to this?" he muttered. "Relax," Loki said. "Smile, you're a bride on her way to wed." "I am a warrior," Thor growled, "not some simpering maiden. "Well," said Loki with a shrug, "today you're both." Thrym's hall was lit with blazing torches and filled with a roar of giants. The bride was welcomed with cheers and drunken laughter. Thrym approached, licking his lips as he took in the towering veiled figure. "She is larger than I expected," he said. "She has a strong lineage," Loki offered. Thrym beamed. "Let the feast begin!" Platters were brought, roasted boar, salted fish, mead and golden horns. Thor, famished from the long day, began to devour everything in sight. He ate an entire ox, then ate salmon, then all the sweetmeats intended for the guests. He drank 3 barrels of mead without pause. Thrym leaned toward Loki, confused. "Is this normal?" he whispered. "Does Freya always eat like a cave bear?" "She has not eaten for 8 days," Loki whispered. "So deeply was she longing for your embrace." "Ah," Thrym smiled, charmed. Later, Thrym leaned in again to peer beneath the veil, but when he saw Thor's glowing eyes, fierce as lightning storms, he leapt back. "Her eyes, they burn like fire." "She has not slept in a week," Loki replied smoothly. "Too excited for the wedding night." Thrym nodded. "Very well, let us seal the vows. Bring the hammer. Place it in her lap as tradition demands." Mjolnir was brought forth, wrapped in runes and velvet, and placed into the bride's lap. The moment Thor's fingers curled around the handle, everything changed. He rose, the veil flew from his face, the gown ripped at the seams as his arms surged with divine fury. "I am Thor, son of Odin," he roared, "and this is no wedding." With one mighty swing, Mjolnir struck. Thrym was thrown backward like a leaf in a storm. The hall erupted in chaos as giants scrambled, slipping on spilled mead and roast meat, but none escaped. Mjolnir danced in Thor's hands, a storm of stone and fire. The ground shook, lightning crashed through the roof, and when it was over, only silence remained. Thor stood tall, wedding gown in tatters, eyes blazing. Loki straightened his servant dress and gave a nod. "Well," he said, "at least the food was good." They rode back to Asgard with the hammer once more secure. As they crossed the Bifrost, gods came out to greet them. When Thor stepped from the chariot, Barefoot, bearded, still wearing pearls and ribbons, the halls of Asgard erupted in laughter. Even Odin cracked a smile. And for many days, the story of Thor's wedding was told and retold, each version more ridiculous than the last. But beneath the laughter, there was something more. This tale, strange and comical as it is, reminds us that strength wears many faces, that sometimes to protect what matters, even gods must endure discomfort, must play the fool, must trust the unexpected. And in the echo of thunder, there is courage, there is sacrifice, and there is a little bit of laughter too. So the next time the sky rumbles and the storm rolls near, perhaps Thor is out there, still chuckling about the time he wore a wedding dress to save the world.